Well, the crypto market is starting this November off in the red, with most altcoins down anywhere from 8 to 10% just over the last 24 hours. Now, as a result of this, everybody right now is freaking out. Boy, I don't know if y'all have been on Twitter, but it is getting ugly. People are worried. People are saying that the bear market is here. The bull market's officially over because the stock market's looking decent. Gold's looking okay. So if crypto's falling, crypto must be in a bear market. It's the wild, wild west out there right now. And so as a result of all of this craziness, I wanted to jump on for you all today and give you a full update on the crypto market, give you my genuine assessment of where we're at and what's going on and what the best things to be doing right now are. You get it. So without further ado, let's not waste any time at all. And let's get straight into it by answering the very first question of Tyler, what the hell is going on right now? Well, the crypto market is pulling back, and it's mostly due to the uncertainty being created, in my opinion, by the government shutdown. So what we can see is that we are now on day 34 of the government shutdown, which is approaching the longest ever, the longest impasse ever. I believe in 2018, there was a 35-day shutdown, and we are now at 34 days. So we're getting pretty dang on close. And the reason why this is generating so much uncertainty and so much fear is because of the impact that the shutdown is actually having on the everyday person. People aren't getting benefits. Government workers don't know if they're being paid. We're starting to see that impact, of course, supply chains and stuff, as people just are not working. Government workers specifically are not working, which is halting certain areas. Things are getting quite weird here in the United States. And to add fuel to the fire, the Fed has also come out and basically said, listen, if the government shutdown does not end by the time it's time for us to get the data that we need to cut interest rates, we're not going to make a move. Because truth be told, if this shutdown continues, we're not going to make assumptions. We're not basing our decisions on anecdotal data, which is just, kind of what we can see or what we feel. No, they like to base it on quantitative data, what they can actually see, what is actually happening. And if they don't have that quantitative data, they're not going to make any moves. And this has, of course, triggered a lot of investors to think, well, if the Fed might not cut rates, and that obviously isn't good, how's that going to impact liquidity? We're not going to see retail, et cetera, et cetera. And you're actually starting to see that getting, reciprocated here in the market. Matter of fact, if we head over to the Fed Watch CME tool, there's now only a 67% chance that the Fed cuts rates in comparison to the over 99% chance that it was not too long ago. And so because of all of this uncertainty that's being generated by the shutdown, government workers, payments, SNAP benefits, much more, the Fed not cutting rates, the crypto market is scared right now. That's just genuinely what it is. And although we might see the crypto fear and greed index in neutral right now, watch, if this pullback we're seeing today continues, we're going to be right back in fear like we were yesterday. And I think it's an okay thing. I think it's reasonable to assume that retail is scared right now because people genuinely don't know what's going on. Now, personally, I'm not really all that scared and I'm not all that concerned, but I do understand why people feel this way. And I do understand why people are selling out of their altcoins and why they're moving into Bitcoin. People just don't know what's going to happen. They're like, well, if we are in a bear market and if things are going to get bad, I just want to be in the thing that is not going to get too bad. That's Bitcoin. I just want to get out. That's why we're seeing people just kind of leaving altcoins behind, not so much as they are Bitcoin. Now, there's also stability being provided to Bitcoin through institutions, which does make sense, of course, why Bitcoin's not falling that badly. But all in all, I do understand why people are scared. I'm not, but I understand why people are scared. Now, let me talk about why I'm not scared personally. And then I'll kind of talk about what I'm doing in this moment where everyone's super, super worried. Okay. And you guys know where I'm going with this. So the reason why I'm not super scared right now is because I actually don't think that this government shutdown is anything but kind of like a short-term temporary thing. And I think eventually there will be a day where we get past this government shutdown. It's just a thing of the past. The Fed continues on about its way. It continues cutting interest rates. Quantitative tightening ends in December. And we start to see this market move in a bit of a better direction. Retail kind of forgets about it. Things go on. And then I think once we get out of this smoke that we're in right now, people will realize that the world's not in a terrible place right now, right? We're starting to see some of those conflicts overseas get settled. We're starting to see the China tariff situation really getting resolved for what it seems. We'll get past this shutdown at some point. Quantitative tightening is going to end. Interest rates will continue to be cut. People say, you know what, we're actually in a pretty good spot. And I think what's going to happen is that this is going to end up being just a period of time that served as a bit of a smoke screen, right? And the people who are able to see through the smoke and actually understand that it's not really that scary of a moment, I think that they're going to end up winning. Because when I look at some of the technical side of things, I actually think that the market's in a pretty solid spot, especially in terms of what we're doing. For example, fear and greed index, fear. We're in fear right now. The RSI right now, almost all cryptos are now in the weak or oversold zone, which means that they are lower than usual, right? When you go look at, say, something like the liquidation maps, we can see that on the 30-day specifically, there are now way more liquidations that will happen if the crypto market goes up. Still some to the downside, meaning we could go down a little bit further from here, but way more towards the top side on the 30-day, on the 7-day, and also on the 1-day. And so when I look at all of these things, it kind of tells me like, look, the market's scared. It's in a really weird spot. Everyone's worrying. RSI is dropping. People are dumping altcoins. Bitcoin dominance is rallying. But truth be told, they're doing that just because everyone else is doing it. People are scared because everyone else is scared. And at the end of the day, what we're seeing right now, honestly, isn't all that bad. And I think what's going to happen is that we're going to push through this. We'll be in a decent spot. People are just going to absolutely freak out. They're going to panic sell. The market's going to recover at some point, and we're going to rally back to the upside. That's what I think is going to happen. And so because of that, yeah, I'm willing to do a little bit of buying on my cryptos, right? When we go look at Bitcoin, for example, Bitcoin's still in its range, right? And I've told you all this consistently. While Bitcoin's above, say, $104,000, $103,000, I'm not scared at all, because all Bitcoin is doing right now is trying to build up a base of support, just like it did back there, just like it did back there, and like it's trying to do right now. It's trying to flip the bottom side of that support into real support, a good foundation to rally. It's trying to find some support off of this blue zone of support that we've been, staying on top of really strongly for a while. It's trying to build some support on top of this weekly Gaussian channel, right? It's trying to do all of those things, and it's still doing it. And while Bitcoin is still successfully building up some support, while Bitcoin dominance is still climbing, I'm not all that scared, because truth be told, at any given point, Bitcoin can find some support here and really give us a nice pump back up to 118K, 120K, maybe even higher. Now, is that going to be difficult? Of course it'll be difficult, and we're going to need some sort of catalyst to do that, I think. I don't think we're just immediately going to rally towards the top side, but I do think that some sort of general recovery is possible, especially if this government shutdown situation does come to an end. Now, I'm willing to be a contrarian, and I'm willing to admit that there is still, of course, a risk that Bitcoin's price does come back down, right? Bitcoin could easily come back down to 105 from here. It could go down to 104 from here. Just look at the liquidation map. Look at what's happening on the 30-day again. Look at all those liquidations directly below us right down here, all the way towards $103,000. So yeah, of course, Bitcoin's price could come back down and melt through these liquidations, but that doesn't convince me that Bitcoin just immediately has to do that. I don't particularly think that's the case. What I would need to see is Bitcoin's price come back below 100K and stay below 100K. Not just a quick little wick, no, stay below 100K. And at that point, I would start to say, okay, yeah, maybe things do get a little bit ugly from here. Maybe Bitcoin does try to pull back from, to 90,000 or 84,000 or something like that for some macro support. Sure, I could see that happening, but I'm not convinced of that now. And so since I'm not convinced of that now, since it's not happened quite yet, since Bitcoin is still holding support, and while all indicators are showing that we are bottoming on many indicators, I think there's still a reasonable chance Bitcoin tries to maintain this support. So what am I going to do right now? I'm just going to dollar cost average a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to buy a little bit of Bitcoin while it's on some support right here. And I'm actually going to take some of the profits that we pulled recently, and I'm going to toss it into some of my alts. For example, Ethereum is now back towards the bottom side of that green zone. So that's a decent time to be doing some dollar cost averaging. Solana, not quite there yet, but it is still in this macro liquidity zone. So could be a small purchase opportunity right here. Not a big one. XRP, for example, this bad boy is also still maintaining up some support and is holding up very well actually on this little Fibonacci golden zone right here. 3 establishments of support right there that you can really see here on the 4-hour charts. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4 actually. And so when I look at all of these alts, I'm not really all that scared of what we're seeing right now. I don't think this is there's a justifiable reason for us to be in fear or extreme fear, especially over a government shutdown that is only temporary, that will get solved eventually. And I think we'll be in a decent spot. I think the macro paints a better picture than the short term does. And my general thesis is that in the short term, things could easily continue to go down. But in the midterm, I don't know what that is, but we'll go with it. In the long term, I think things could either be very neutral or positive, and I'm comfortable with this, okay? So yeah, sure, the short term, still full of chaos, not really all too concerned about it, but the midterm and long term, I'm still very confident that we're in a pretty good spot here in the crypto market, and I'm not too damn worried. And so we'll see how it plays out. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong, quote unquote, and Bitcoin just absolutely nukes to the downside. It just doesn't seem like a super likely scenario to me, so I'll worry about that when the time comes. But as per usual, I'll be here every step of the way with you all if that does occur. And so that's where we are in the crypto market. Just to summarize a little bit, the government shutdown is creating a lot of uncertainty because people aren't getting paid. Government workers aren't getting paid. That's slowing down certain things here in the U.S., especially airports. I've been to one recently. It sucked. And that, of course, has also triggered the Fed to possibly think about not cutting interest rates anymore. Now, when you compare this with the fact that crypto is just not performing well in comparison to stocks and the gold market, yeah, people are, they're worried. They're feeling like the crypto market might be coming to an end of this run, and people are exiting. They're getting out of their altcoins. They're scared. They're running for their lives, and they're running and flocking gravitating to Bitcoin, which is why Bitcoin dominance is up. And that's not a terrible move, but it's what people are doing. And I personally just don't agree. That sort of fear isn't something that I think is reasonable right now for the most part. And so because of that, I'm going to go against the grain. Dollar cost average on some of my altcoins, dollar cost average a little bit of Bitcoin, and wait to see if Bitcoin can sustain and maintain above 102. And as long as we're above 103, let's say actually, as long as we're above 103, we're in a good spot. And we easily could rally to take out a lot of these liquidations that are still very available above us. Because listen, guys, the market makers are not, in my opinion, going to allow these billions and billions of dollars in short trades to win. That would be odd. That would be weird. I've never seen that before. I have no reason to believe that they're going to do that now. I think it's much more likely that even if we do head down a little bit, come back down, liquidate these traders, and then smash them out, okay? And so that's where we are. That's what I'm seeing here in the crypto market, and that's how I'm feeling. And again, I know overall it does feel like a little bit scary and sketchy, but you just have to be willing to see through the smoke and see through the mirrors and see for crypto for what it is. And so I will let you know, if you do want to be able to see through all of this a little bit better and take your crypto game to the next level, guys, there is always the opportunity for you guys to head to the link down below and join the crypto school. Matter of fact, earlier this morning, I posted this full update that you just got over in the crypto school hours ago. And so they've known where I've stood for hours. And so if you want to join this community, get my updates, get my buys, get my sells, see workshops and all this cool stuff, and join a community of people who've absolutely been smashing it. Look at this guy. I mean, a 574% gain just this morning. If you want to join this community, the link is down below. And if you are trading, you can get a 10% deposit bonus over on BTCC. But I don't recommend trading to anyone who doesn't know what they are doing. So if you're not good at leverage trading, do not click that link to BTCC. Head over to the crypto school. That's the place for you. But all in all, of course, I hope you guys did enjoy today's quick and straight to the point update. I have been wanting to post less frequently, but higher quality recently. So hopefully you guys have been enjoying the value-packed videos. I can't wait to see you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.